Oh God, it went quiet. They must be waiting for me to do something.
They're all.
Oh, we got a couple of people that need to come in. Essential. There's one. And the other one's coming up the stairs from the parking lot. Lisa, that's what he texted me. All right. So, let's get started. The guy who's coming has a part in this a little bit later on the next screen. I'll start by saying welcome to our math suggests that this is the 14th year that we've done this. It's pretty spectacular, actually. And I think very few of us were even here at the first one 14 years ago, plus. So the fact that it's kept on going in spite of the fact that the originators and founders aren't here, that's a sign that we do something right. I'm Bruce Mavis. I'm the president of now Minnesota Ultimate. That's our new name. We're still the same organization. We're still the same company. We are now not just Minnesota Youth Ultimate. We have taken on a role as what the USA Ultimate calls a state-based organization, whereby we will have we'll be like one step closer to USA Ultimate, and we'll have, I hate to say responsibility, but we'll have more of an interest in what's going on in Ultimate at all levels of competition and all ages. So my job here is to say welcome, and let's see, we got an agenda there. So starting with welcome and introductions. I'm Bruce Mavis, already told you that. We're going to go through the board of directors. They're not all here tonight, but we've got quite a few of them. And starting with, or continuing with, Dave Plank. Stand up and wave, Dave. Sorry, Vice President. Missy Davey.
I'm back here.
That's our secretary. JR is almost never at these things. And part of the reason is because he's an accountant. Accountants are always busy in February and March. Chris Miller. He is here. Yay! Head of our competition for the league season. Abby, is Abby here? Abby is not here. Board member and also focuses on middle school. Mike Kinsella, also not here, I think. Board member, and he's actually one of our tie-ins to USA Ultimate. Anna Ron, is Anna? Anna's not here. Board member Nate Wool, who is here, stand up, Nate, also a board member. Patty King is here, stand up. She's our girls state outreach coordinator. Outreach, is that right? So they changed the title on it. It's not state youth coordinator anymore. No, all right, good. So she's responsible for all the hard work that has to be done on the girls division. And Claire Oakley is responsible for the open, same thing. I don't suppose Claire's here tonight. And not last, and certainly not least, in the back there, the guy who's examining his texts, Jake McCain, who is our program director. And you're going to ask, what's a program director do? Well, we settled him with most of the hard work, but he's got some growth coming up. And I'll just mention briefly in passing that we've also hired, coerced, I should say, a guy to be the, well, I like that name. What's that? Junior cyber funky. Yeah. Instrumental at dealing with all of our changes coming up here on websites and whatnot. So,
What's that guy's name?
Oh, Austin. Okay, sorry. Moving on. Whose turn is this? Organizational updates?
I think that's me.
That's you. All right, good.
Sorry.
Slide.
Hi, I'm Dave Clank. Bruce already touched on a few of these points, but okay, this is the position I should be in? All right.
Yeah, that's it.
For those watching at home, I'm now in your view. Hello. Minnesota Ultimate, that transition came about because USA Ultimate decided that they want to both get more involved at the state level, but also transfer some more local control at the state level. So currently, they've got a big and growing staff at the national headquarters that tries to manage a lot of programming, but when it comes down to a state-specific level, they can't really possibly hope to manage the type of groundwork that we're hoping to have to continue to grow the sport going forward. And this is a model that you see in other sports as well, where there's both a national governing body and then state-based organizations that partner with them. One incentive that USA Ultimate put in place for an individual organization to take this on was that there's some funding, both a couple of short-term boosts to help get things off the ground, and then a percentage going forward of membership dues. And we looked at this opportunity. We saw that it was out there. They actually posted a job description, and maybe there were some individuals that applied. I don't know, but we looked at it and we said, you know what, we're already working pretty close with USA Ultimate on the youth stuff. We've got a half-time employee that we'd love to find a way to get to full-time and really help grow the sport in the state. There's this opportunity out there, and so we sat down as a board and decided that we wanted to pursue it. What this doesn't mean is that we're going to take any focus off for youth at all. In fact, if anything, I think we're turning up the gas pedal on that. One thing we're going to be able to do as a result of this is we're going to be having some more direct connection with the club teams in the area, the college teams in the area, and that'll hopefully give us more access, and also the league players in the area in the long term. That'll hopefully give us more access to volunteers than we currently have, so that we're not just emailing all of you thankless individuals over and over again demanding volunteers, but rather are tapping into people who already aren't dedicating an enormous amount of their time every spring to youth. Now, with all that said, you might have seen the announcement on the USAU site. There are 2 other state-based orgs that started up this year, and then they're planning to add more orgs over time. So we get the cool designation to be one of the first ones. We have a new website, which I believe someone else is going to take some time to go through, so I won't dwell on that. Already covered some of this stuff. Did want to highlight that we did indeed take Jake McCain from a half-time employee to a full-time employee. So he'll now be dedicating all of his efforts and not just moonlighting as our program director. We're hoping to see a lot of exceptional growth, both in the youth programming and also in offering opportunities in other areas, both in the Twin Cities and actually across the entire state of Minnesota. We're hoping someday that it won't just be Cathedral and 1 or 2 other teams that join up from outside the metro, but depending on where you find the metro, I guess that maybe we have a few more than that right now. It depends what you count. But my point is, hopefully at some point, the Twin Cities will just be one fraction of the larger competitive pool. And I think Jake will be instrumental in making that happen. And then over the next year, we want to, at our board meetings and also in special committee meetings outside of that, we want to work on developing our first strategic plan. If anyone's been on the USAU website, you'll see that they recently went through this process. They have a 5-year plan. They have vision and value statements and a mission statement. We currently have a mission statement, general idea of what we're doing, but we really want to work to develop a more specific plan, really dig down and understand what it is that we're doing here and what we're all about, and try and set that forth so that Jake and others have a roadmap going forward. And we would really love help from all of you in this room. If anyone is interested in getting involved in that process, please do reach out to us. Website.
Is there tape on the ground? Or?
Chris, I can actually drive for you. So
Oh, sure. Do I not control this?
Well, you can do that for your slides, but any website stuff, tell me where you want to go.
Hi guys, my name's Chris Miller. More? Very new. My name's Chris Miller. I'm the competition director for the high school season. I'm sure I've run into a lot of you. I used to coach Apple Valley, so I've had the pleasure of seeing a lot of you on the field. But if not, I look forward to meeting you here or at another time. We're going to walk through our new website, which is pretty exciting for us, I guess. There's a lot going on there, but one of the big goals we wanted to have with it was both to function as a hub for kind of our new transition into Minnesota Ultimate, but also specifically for the people in this room to have a lot more information readily available online and kind of take the opportunity to reorganize what we've already been doing. So from a competition standpoint, as well as everywhere else, there's a lot to look at. So for now, let's put it to you guys. We have registration here. On the right-hand side, that's always going to be present for anything that's currently registering. So if you do need to find something or get information, it's available. And then we have kind of the typical intuitive news stream, what you'd like. You can like us on Facebook, and if you haven't yet, why? And I think we have a Twitter feed somewhere as well. So we're very social. Pertinent to you guys, under youth, first one down is the Minnesota High School League. That's what we're doing here. You'll also note other categories that are there pertaining to things like Summer League, YCC, the Fall Mixed League that we've recently launched. But for everything that you need to worry about in the spring, you can come right here. And there will either be links out to other parts of the site that are going to help you, or all of the information that you need. On the right-hand side, again, pretty self-explanatory, but we're going to be keeping standings and things like that. Each conference now has its own dedicated page. We have, for those of you, the conference champions from last year that sent them in, we have your photos up there. I hope you were all smiling. And just kind of a number of things in here that document what we've been doing, and more importantly, what your teams and your programs have been doing over the years. One of the things we really value is building a history of all of the work that you've been putting in for little to no money. And if nothing else, somebody else will read about it 10 years from now and go, wow, Stillwater, all right. Okay. On that same line, we now have the Hall of Fame, which is really just the term we came up with for all conference and all state winners. So every state champion, every all state, every all conference team, coaches of the year, spirit champions, all of that can be found in there, and all of you coaches can go back and point to the legends that have come before and show them what they can do. Beyond that, the rest of the site, we have a great spot for volunteers to sign up. The media tab has our YouTube channel, including 25 games right now from past spring league games that, again, you can use for film study, reference, or anything like that. Jake, I don't have a PowerPoint in front of me. What am I missing here? Yeah, just for a titch. Thank you. So one thing that's going to happen here is that each team is going to have their own, I guess we'll call it profile page, for lack of a better term. But coaches or team managers, you're going to have at least one web admin who'll be able to log in, adjust your roster, your schedule, upload your logo, but also right on that team page, you will also have your list of games. Getting ahead of myself a little bit, but one thing we've been hearing a lot of feedback on is that we don't want to wait to know 10 days out, not nearly enough time, 14 days out, probably not time. So the first 5 games are going to be scheduled at the start of the season, which means you will know where you are going for the first 5 weeks. If there is an away game, it's away, but you have multiple weeks to plan for it. So we really wanted to make sure we could handle that. There's also an increase on conference games this year, shorter drive times and more familiarity within the conference as we look to kind of continue to build familiarity and relationships, and maybe even some friendly rivalries as well. So when you do come up to your team page, you'll see those listed. You'll be able to report scores directly in there. In the coming weeks, as we get closer to the season going live, we'll also have the detail step-by-step on how to go in, use the system as well as to go in and report scores and things like that. I promise you it's more intuitive than the USA Ultimate site. Easy, low-hanging fruit. Are they watching this? They're not.
They might.
That's fine.
You don't know that.
I know. We do payment and registration through the site through PayPal. So I assume everybody at this point has access to a credit card or can find one, but if you do need to submit cash or check, we do have that option as well. And privacy. I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about here other than that all of the information you enter in is only going to be viewed by site admins such as myself or the team admins that are on there, and by nobody else. The Apple Valley coach is not going to go log into Armstrong and see what girls are returning and get in that job before he wants to. Yes, Missy, the Armstrong coach.
Yeah, just be aware if you have played Sandblast or any other tournament that requires Ultimate Central registration, when you create your account with the email that you're using, if you've previously used that email, you'll see other teams that you've been a part of. So on mine, I can see Sandblast and so on and so forth. So just be cognizant of that when you're working with minors and you're linking different accounts and different data. Make sure your privacy settings set so that the items are blocked from you.
That's one feature that Ultimate Central likes to tout that I think other people might like more than we do. But again, if you use the same email address to sign up for Sandblast or Layout or Wildwood or whatever, and then you also use it to register for USA Ultimate, kids are just going to know that you also play at those tournaments. Which I assume, as long as your profile picture is acceptable, I don't think there's going to be any inferences drawn. But if that's something that you want to keep separate, keep that in mind and either use a team email account or just create a separate one and go from there. Thank you, Missy.
And part of the concern with that may well be the appropriateness of your Sandblast or Wildwood team name or logo.
There is that.
And while we're on that topic, now that all of our high school logos are going to be posted on the website, you may or may not be hearing from Minnesota Ultimate about yours as well, if indeed it is not, to the level of acceptable appropriateness that we all have come to expect out of a professional athletic organization.
That racy Green Lantern. What's that about? All right. So season details. We're going to just kind of look over it quickly at a glance, look at the important dates, and just discuss any logistics and updates. There aren't really any at all, and I would like Jake to speak to the fee structure and payment and registration a little bit.
Yep, those are later slides. This is just your outline slide.
Great, wonderful. We already did that. Spring League starts April 5th, runs through May 26th. Girls still on Tuesdays, open still on Thursdays. The high school tournament is June 4th and 5th in Blaine. Now, one change this year, we did send an email out on this, but one thing that we're running into with the National Sports Center this year is that they have a conflict, and it's not really something we're pleased with, but at the same time, we're kind of seeing it as an opportunity. So we are slightly changing the schedule, and Dave Blank, our state tournament director, will get into that more as we get closer. But what's relevant here is that the Division I finals, both girls and open, will be held Tuesday night, June 7th. Now, from everything that we've seen, there's no conflict with graduation. We know Hopkins had the Thursday night prior, Mounds View has that Monday night. We haven't seen anything that would suggest that there's an issue here, and at least not directly. If there is, we're really sorry, but it happens every year, and hopefully we avoid most of them. But what we're hoping to do here is have a showcase game, doubleheader, under the lights in a stadium. Generally, we're looking in kind of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area to make it an event for your teams to come out, cap the season off, enjoy an ideally pretty decent set of games, as well as for any administrators at your school, coaches, parents, anybody that you think might benefit from seeing Minnesota high school ultimate at the highest level. That's where we want them to go. So we're going to be working on getting various people there as well for that to take a look, but also it'll just be kind of a pretty neat thing, especially coming out of some scheduling troubles early on. So mark that date, whether you are feeling ambitious or not, because I think it's going to be a great night. Yes, ma'am.
So I had thought from the email that there wasn't going to be any games on the 5th. Are there games going to be on the 5th?
Yes, there are, but there's going to be a whole state tournament slide tonight, and I'll get into detail on it.
Mm-hmm. All right, essential season dates. Coaching conference, we started this last year. It was a great success, but a lot of resources for new coaches or coaches kind of looking for new angles on how to approach the season and the team. That's run by Missy, standing in the back. A ton of documents that are able to be adapted and modified for use right away. Some helpful practices that successful coaches in the state have used before to kind of get things up and running. And in general, a lot of resources to help for you. The league registration deadline is Friday, February 26th. The league registration deadline is Friday, February 26th. On Friday, February 26th is the league registration deadline. Monday is the late registration deadline. It's not listed on here, but if you forgot after I said it 3 times, which you should remember, then you will have the weekend to panic and get it in. From a logistics standpoint and our continuing mission to make sure you have information as soon as you can to make your plans as soon as you can, that's the sort of thing we're going to stick on pretty hard. And it's not really been an issue for more than 1 or 2 people every year, but anytime we draw a line in the sand, we want you to be aware of it. So, February 26th, the registration deadline. We already discussed the first league games, the 5th and the 7th. The state registration deadline. Now, show of hands, how many of you have schools that have multiple squads in the same division, A teams, B teams, etc.? Yeah, okay. Thank you, that was very enthusiastic. Of those, some schools may see conflict with graduation, or they may see conflict with dwindling numbers on the weekends, or any number of things. There are a variety of reasons why there might be an A to B squad that play the regular season throughout the year, but then don't necessarily play the state tournament as two different teams. That's why we have two different registration deadlines. So the state registration deadline, the end of April, about halfway through the season, that's when you need to let us know if you intend to take, the same teams you have in the league to the state tournament, or maybe 4 teams like Cathedral, that's going to be where they register for state and let us know by. But again, it's just specifically for the state tournament. If you sign up for the league, you also need to sign up for the state tournament. It's not a one and done, I don't believe, correct? Or have we changed that? Okay. We're still doing 2 separate registrations?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
There'll be 2
I wasn't
separate,
sure we included it as an option.
there'll be 2 separate ultimate central.
Great. Conference finals, again, the week of May 17th through the 20th. Generally, conference finals are held in a stadium and on a different day than either Tuesday or Thursday games. The idea being that the rest of the teams in the conference can go watch. The all-conference teams are announced then, and in general, similar to what we're aiming to do with the state final showcase game, give the community a chance to rally around tonight, have a good time, and again, watch some high-level ultimate, and maybe celebrate some of their peers that are being recognized by the conference. Each conference has a conference coordinator that will be reaching out. If anybody's interested in doing that, or if you have any questions on doing that, please see me after this, or I'll probably email you anyways, or both. The bye week. So in previous years, we've had the bye week interspersed between the seasons, or between the weeks, between each division. The bye week this year is for both divisions the last week before state. Okay, so we'll look at kind of the day rundown in a minute here on what that means. But that means that for makeups, the deadline for makeups to affect state seedings will be before the bye week. And again, the bye week was moved primarily to accommodate weather, which is something that we deal with here every year, to accommodate weather, but also to ensure that the Tuesday games don't roll around and you're not finding out about who you're playing or what you're doing until Thursday or Friday night before the state tournament. We are trying to build in as much of a buffer as we can because we recognize that from logistics and scheduling, you have enough to worry about. And frankly, it's kind of stressful for us too. So I think it's a win-win. And again, the state championships, the 4th and the 5th, the finals on Tuesday, June 7th. So here is the week at a breakdown. I know I keep stepping out of camera, but this is more important. Girls division on the left, open on the right, and just kind of a general breakdown of important dates. You'll see some other things in there other than weeks, but week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. You see where it says conference, out of region, regional, or conference. The region doesn't really have any bearing on what you need to worry about. It's more just kind of internal notes for us, and that even if we're doing an out-of-conference game, we're looking to keep it within the same 2 or 3 adjacent conferences so that nobody is driving an hour in rush hour to get to a game. Again, something we've heard a lot about, especially for squads with carpooling, logistics. It's just more helpful in general. Beyond that, each of these has their important dates. They're up on the website as well. They're fairly self-explanatory. All conference ballots are due 4/19. After week 4, we look at the conference seeding. There's our late team for state registration deadline. If you have to take one thing out of this meeting, take this. It's also on the website. You can screenshot it on your phone. I mean, if you need it, I'll just personally email it to you. But these are the dates that you would want before anything else. And again, note, state finals being a different day than the rest of the weekend and everything else. And again, bye week, the week 5/31 or 6/2 for both divisions. And you'll note that state seeding will ideally be posted the week prior so that you can either use that to scrimmage, get additional focused practice in based on what you're seeing for the state tournament or anything like that. Any questions at all on what you see here or anything I've said? In the back first, sir.
Where on the website is looking?
Where on the website is it located? Can you tell us back?
Yeah. All right, so when you are on minnesotaultimate.org, you go to About, there's a calendar page. When you go in here, it will have a calendar for each division you can see here. And right down here, after we get rid of this, hey, what do you think, board? There's going to be instructions for forwarding this to your Google Calendar or online calendar. Essentially, you'll go up here and you'll select an iCalendar feed. Then you can send it all of your devices and accounts and have it in whatever format you want. But it will always be up on the website here as well. So you can see we're at the meeting here. This is the administration calendar. And next Saturday is our coaching conference. We get into March.
Those dates are also directly under league information.
Yeah.
So under the Minnesota High School League, under league information, those dates are laid out exactly as you just saw them. They're also broken out by division and in relation specific to all-state voting or conference play or anything like that. So if you go to competition, scroll down. There we go.
Yeah.
So
This wasn't here a couple hours ago, was it?
it was a busy day. One other note here, in previous, would you mind jumping back over? Thank you, Jake. One other, no, you're good. Right here. So under competition, every year without fail, we have questions when conferences roll around about how they work, what happens to my team if this happens, what happens to my team if that happens. What I've tried to do is be as nitty-gritty and boring as possible when going through this, and that's laid out right in here. So this isn't, something that we're just going to tweet out for public consumption because it's kind of dry reading. But if you want to know exactly how the season breaks down or exactly what your team is going to see throughout the year or throughout the season, you can go right in here. Also under tournaments, we have a listing of all of the tournaments in our region that we see. If you're organizing a tournament and you would like your information to be in there, send it our way and we will get it there.
You want me to go and do it?
No, I think folks can take a look. Thank you for the question, sir.
A small question, but a list of the dates. It looked like on the boys, the open side, a lot of those dates were Wednesdays in May. Specifically the 4th and the 11th are both Wednesdays.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Probably not correct. Probably somewhere there. Thank you.
The games will be on Thursday.
Yeah, just trust your instinct.
We're scheduled on Wednesday, but the game's on Thursday.
Yeah.
So, to clarify, conference championship games used to be played around Memorial Day weekend, and they're now a week earlier.
No.
Later.
Yes.
Oh,
That
it's
makes
weird.
sense.
It's weird this year. That's right.
Well, and we also fly 5 years.
5 week Germany. Okay. Sure.
I need to change my.
I was just going to say trust the dates, but that's been proven not to be the case. So,
I need to change my requests,
yeah. Oh.
unless you want to make an exception.
Oh. I mean, we'll figure it out.
We'll
Your
talk.
conference coordinator and each conference in general does things specifically. If you have questions on them, you can ask Nate or I. We'll be running conferences this year, or your individual conference coordination. But that's an excellent point. Busy week. So, beyond that, conference play. Some conference coordinators are looking to run a conference tournament. I know that, Cody, are you here? Cody Melhorn is stepping up to handle one of our conferences this year, and he is looking at running, for instance, a conference tournament. And I believe, Cody, you were going to open it to conference teams and then any other teams that were also interested, correct?
Tentatively, yes, waiting on field space.
Sure. Beware the dates. Watch out for those. So preseason conference tournaments, we obviously want to help these tournaments happen and allow conferences to get more chances to play one another. But things like fields or time and things like that obviously come into play. If you want any assistance on this, let us know, and we will always have resources to help more playing opportunities develop. So happy to do that. We're throwing a conference game in week 2 this year. We did this last year as well. Once we move into conference play in week 6, playoff brackets are straight to semis with the top 4. If we see RI looking close enough, we may try and make a 4 or 5 game. But again, that created some short turnaround times last year, and we're looking to avoid that. So the general consensus is to go straight to just top 4 and avoid swapping people around just for kind of one more play-in game or anything like that. And of course, after every season, if you don't like it, let us know and we'll change it. Conference finals, again, check the website for location and times, but also do with that grain of salt from earlier. All conference nominations are due in April. Voting will actually open up prior to conference semifinals. This is a little out of date. And again, giving you more time to recognize people in your conference, be aware of what's happening, and then submit them. And again, each conference's dedicated page on the website has your coordinator's contact info, as well as all the teams in the conference and access to take a look at those teams and figure out who you appreciate and who didn't make the cut. Questions at all on any of this? It's a lot of information.
So just to sum up, Chris,
Sure.
if I was frustrated before because I felt like every week I was getting a new schedule and I never knew who I was going to play when, how have you improved that?
Just speaking hypothetically.
Mhm.
Yeah. If you were to manage that, you would go, Jake.
I don't think Jake likes that.
Yeah. It was primarily me, don't worry, last year. You would go to your team's page. So Jake, why don't you, one way to get to there, can I drive? Let me do it.
Yeah.
Let me do it. I don't need to get a camera anyway. So you'll see right here in the Minnesota High School League, you have your standings, you have conferences, under conferences. We'll take a look at the Lake Conference here. And here, by the way, is a nice Google map of all the conferences we had, or all the teams in conference we had in 2015. There's Cathedral, there's Northfield, and there's GFW. So we're slowly expanding. But to take a look at your team, each team is going to have their own page. You'll notice you can click right here on Edina. Once their schedule is loaded in, it will show up right here. So above active roster, below the general team information. As soon as their scores are entered, they'll automatically be updated in there. Edina is really pushing the social media. It's good. You'll also see any past schedule that you may have had. And note as well that, for instance, some teams are going to the Madison Mudbath. Madison Mudbath is also using Ultimate Central. And so if you're registering with the same team, you'll actually see your Madison Mudbath results show up in here. Quick note is that we are still only counting in-state competition for terms of seeding. So if you're curious on why your Mudbath results may not be figuring in, they're not. That's why. But you can see your schedule right in there. You can also go and see the schedule in the event that you would be signing up in, right in here. So right now it's currently registering. It's not open. But again, once this is up, you will have a event calendar on the left-hand side, and every single game will be available to you. These are things that you can, I believe, create Outlook notifications for. You can just download them to Excel, or you can screenshot them handily and send it out to parents. Any other questions?
And not to beat a dead horse,
But please beat it.
over the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, will you be announcing games 1 week at a time after running the algorithm?
You know, Dave, we've tried that in the past, and reaction hasn't been positive. So this year, we're going to do the first 5 games up front. So you will, when the season starts, have the first 5 weeks planned out, ready to go. You can get all the strategy ready to go for weeks 4, weeks 5, weeks 1, 2, or 3. Sir?
When will 5 through 8,
6 through 8.
6 through 8?
Great question.
Follow?
Well, week 6 and 7 are conference semis. So as soon as we get the results in from week 5, that night we get together, we post them out, and you'll have it for the following week. And what's going to happen there is you're going to have the next 2 weeks of play. If you're either in conference bracket play, you're going to know who you're playing for semifinals, and then where you're going to go, depending on win or lose after that. Or if you're not in conference bracket play, you're going to have 2 conference games scheduled out right there. So it'll be 5 weeks, it'll be 2 weeks, and then right after conference finals is going to be the only time the window's a little bit short when it's going to go. And wildcard week really pertains mostly to the open division. But either way, instead of having a 4-day turnaround like we've had last year, it'll be a full week turnaround again. So we will, the day after the final conference final, which would be generally that Friday, get together again, put it out, and we will have 6 to 7 days, or 5 to 6 days, again, to know where you're going.
That seems like a great change, Chris.
Thanks, Dave. I feel pretty good about it. Anybody have any other questions or would like to meet the horse?
Since the registration deadline February 26th, if you're a program that's kind of on the cusp between one team and 2 teams, is there any way to have extended time register 1, plausibly have a second team, or register 2 and shrink down to 1 if you are having a practice
Register
yet
2.
by then?
Register 2, and then email me. I'm Jake, JMCKEAN at MinnesotaUltimate.org. Email me if you can't make the second one work.
let's round up, because that'd be great. And if it doesn't happen, then we'll figure it out. If it's happened before, and it has been an issue. We're certainly not going to penalize teams for signing up and then realizing they can't fill the squad.
We can also schedule a bye the first week for some of those developmental teams. We've done that in the past.
It is good to be aware of the issue, though.
Yes.
Colin.
Score reporting on that side too, or?
Yep, score reporting on that site. That'll be one of kind of the help documents that come out.
On
step by
the
step.
Thus,
On the site. The site. You're going to go right into this event page, and again, over on the left where we would have schedule, you'll be able to click right on the fixture, enter it in, and go from there.
Who gets to actually enter scores? Is there a limit?
It's anybody who's an approved web admin for the team. So again, I know that you see this giant site and you wonder about all the stuff, and I promise you documents are coming, but rather than have this get really intensive, suffice to say that last year, or in previous seasons, you would have somebody, a team captain or coach, come in, log in, and sign their email address, their name, and enter the score. That's essentially what's going to happen this year. There are many different roles you can have for your team, whether it's a coach, captain, team manager, or kind of team admin. And like coach, captain, team manager, team admin, all have the capability of entering the score. So it really is going to come down to the same way you did last year, where whoever is the person on your team, they will still be the person.
And it would be really great if you could make a calendar reminder for yourself now for the end of your week 5 game, the end of your week 7 game, to get those score, and the end of your week 8 game, to get those scores reported the same night you play it. Because obviously we're trying to do a quick turnaround and then get you your schedule for conference semis, wildcard week, and the state tournament right away.
Yep. Throw it out there one more time. Any other questions? Kenny.
With apologies, you know, we're dealing with high school kids, and February 26th seems like it's so far away, but it's really not.
Yeah.
So now we're dealing with getting that group organized. We can register a team without putting a single person on the roster at this point?
I believe so, Jake.
yeah, we've got some slides on that.
Essentially, Kenny, the registration deadline on February 26th is telling us you have an entity that is going to be playing other teams.
You just want $200.
Yeah, you know what? If there's one thing we're about at Minnesota Ultimate, it's taking your money. So send it in. That's all we do. Kenny. All right, conference coordinators. Raise your hand if you were a conference coordinator last year. Do it. Yes, applaud them. They're doing so much work. Now, with all that being said, who wants to be a conference coordinator?
We'll clap for you next week.
Okay, it's all right. Excellent. Yeah, we'll clap. Look forward to 2017's clapping as your motivation. We're also offering this, in addition to that, we're offering a small stipend this year. You know, nobody's buying a new car with it, but definitely we want you to be able to treat yourself a little bit at the end of it, at the end of the season, because we do appreciate the work, and conference coordinators do a lot more than you think, and also make things run a lot smoother. If you've ever been to a conference final, if you've ever submitted a vote for all conference or all state, your conference coordinators are the reason that that's running at all, smoothly or otherwise. So they're wonderful, and they keep me sane, which is nice. Great. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know. This is what the conference coordinator would do. Very basic, just kind of more time intensive as opposed to skill intensive. Questions at all on that? All right. Jake, I believe you're.
I do have one question on the conference coordinator part.
So close.
As conference coordinators, just please, like when we ask for any input or like we send an email, just be really responsive to it. Like it saves us a ton of time because it's our job to get the information, and if we're not getting it easily, we're just gonna have to press harder, and that's kind of annoying. So
You're gonna give us your phone numbers this year, so we'll find it. It'll happen. But I don't, you know, it's been one or two. I don't anticipate it being an issue.
right, just a heads up.
All right, we're gonna move on to fun policy and guideline and registration type stuff. I want everyone to be confident and know that all of this information is on the website, minnesotaultimate.org. Okay, and if you minnesotaultimate.org. And if you have questions about it, some of this stuff is hard to interpret. I'm the guy to ask for it, and we'll get the answers to you. So if your head's spinning after we go through these 6 slides, you're probably not alone in the room, and you're where I was a couple weeks ago. We'll all get there together. So being a state-based organization of USA Ultimate, we adhere to their youth guidelines. If you're ever really bored, if you're unemployed, and you can dedicate an afternoon, you can go on USA Ultimate's website and read all of their youth guidelines. But we're just going to highlight what's changed from 2015 into 2016, since you all memorized it last year. So first thing, this is actually new. Minnesota Ultimate, Minnesota Youth Ultimate has required this for a while, but now USA Ultimate is requiring that every roster has a certified coach, level 1 certified. That's the standard in Minnesota, so it shouldn't be an issue for anyone. But if you don't have a coach, we gotta get you one. This is kind of what Kenny was alluding to with getting the kids on your roster. So and we'll get into the registration here in a bit, but unfortunately, there's kind of 2 halves to the registration for both league and state, and that's registering with Minnesota Ultimate and then registering with USA Ultimate. And the rostering for USA Ultimate happens 3 weeks prior to the state championship. Unfortunately, that's right around the time of our registration deadline, so we've got them in sync for you there.
Can I just throw in there very quickly, the definition of a qualifying event is anything like our 8-game league series. Right, with the league games, the 8 games are a qualifying event for state.
Okay, high school regional player eligibility. USA Ultimate is trying really hard to push along some girls programming, GUM, and I actually haven't dove into what these requirements are, but the regional, so if you don't understand what regional is, that's all right. It took me a long time too. We have our Minnesota events, and there used to be like a national championship for all of the youth teams, school-based. Now they just have regional ones. So there's some Minnesota teams that play in the Central Championship, Centrals. That's what we're talking about with the regional. And this happens before the state tournament. You'll see it on our calendar. But the requirements for that are a little bit different depending on which division you're in. Essentially, they're lax, or they're more supportive of girls ultimate. So if you want to take a girls team there, make sure that you check out that section of the guidelines. YCC, Minnesota Ultimate actually hosts that at the National Sports Center in Wayne in August. We've done it for 11 years now, Bruce. And we will have it for the next 3. And we are above an affiliate. We're a state-based organization now, so essentially when we want to send teams to that, we get rights over other organizations within the nation. And this is a big one for some of our more developed teams, or the teams that want to go to Centrals, and that's the player eligibility for that. So make sure that you're reading that closely, and we'll get into the state-based exception here in a minute. Man, you guys must really be confused. Okay, so essentially, USA Ultimate has this whole list of what you have to do to be qualified as a player to play on a specific team. Essentially, you need to be a member of that school, or prove why you should play with that school instead of your school or any other. So you can read all that. If there's an issue, if you have athletes that are playing on your team that are not going to the school that you represent, you got to pay attention to this and make sure that it's happening right. And this is where most of the questions are going to come up. So make sure that you're following the USA Ultimate guideline on that, which on our website we actually have the relevant text right there under the youth heading. But it says in there that states can make local exceptions. Okay, so in addition to the USA Ultimate guidelines, we have said that if you do not have a team at your school, and when I say you, I'm talking about a student athlete, If you do not have a team at your school, or if you're a girl that doesn't have a girls team there, it's just an opens team, you can go and you can play with a different team, the closest one to your home, for up to 2 years. You still have to apply for it. You don't just get to go and do it. You have to apply for it. But we don't want to, we're in the business of helping kids play Ultimate, not prohibiting them from doing it. So, and then the idea is that while you're playing with a team for a school that you don't go to, you're making a good faith effort to start a team up at your school. Because chances are you're not the only one there that wants to play Ultimate. And Minnesota Ultimate, myself, we've got the resources and the time and the desire to help make those new teams happen. Okay?
I have a question on that.
Fire away.
I'm from Cathedral.
Okay.
So we're the only team within miles, well, except for Becker now. So what this means then is after 2 years, if nobody has stepped up, no parent or anybody else has stepped up to create another team at a school in our area, we have to tell them they can't play.
That's the way this is written.
No, the individual student.
Correct.
Just
Yeah.
that student.
Yeah, not a school. So if
Student waiver, not a school waiver.
right, so if a student comes to you in 9th grade and says,
Yeah.
I want to play Ultimate, they're obligated to apply for this accession. And when we give it to them, we will tell them, and you should encourage them, you got 2 years, your 9th grade and your 10th grade year, that you can play with our team. During that time, you should be starting a team at your own school. And here's Jake's email. He's going to help make it happen.
So if it's a homeschool though, then they should be trying to create a team in the high school that they technically are a part of, you know, because every homeschool graduates from a public school. So they should be trying to make a team with that school. But if it doesn't happen, then they're just out of luck. They just can't play.
Well, essentially, you know, we've got, we're planning for upwards of 80 teams competing in the state this year. And at some point, all of them started with a kid and an adult that wanted to make it happen. And lots of them did it in less than 2 years. And with less resources than Minnesota Ultimate has to support them with now. So.
And to be clear, we're not looking at sticking to this 2-year guideline because that's what as we've been told, and that's what we've always done. But it's more, you guys are in a bit of a unique situation being up there and being definitely the ultimate hub for high school in St. Cloud. But if we see, you know, kids from St. Cloud Tech that start with you, and then their siblings come start with you, and then kids from St. Cloud Tech keep going to Cathedral, then we're not actually getting growth, and Cathedral's definitely benefiting from the talent. But I mean, eventually, I would assume you guys want to scrimmage somebody other than
We
yourselves.
would love to have every
Right.
high school in our area
Right.
have a team.
So that's really what we're looking for. If the kids make, you know, more than enough of a good faith effort and they're working at it and they're meeting resistance, we'll deal with that when it comes to it. Well, what we're looking at is trying to avoid having to deal with that
So
situation.
that's something like we haven't had our parent meeting yet, but that's something we need to push at our parent.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
want to come up to St. Cloud and help with
Let us
that?
know the date.
Would you parent meeting, Jake?
It's in 2 weeks, a week and a half.
Let's talk up in the meeting.
Yeah, and you're in a bit of a unique situation. You know, our first team in Mankato, our first team in Rochester, Duluth, they're all going to have to deal with this at some point. And we've got a bunch of words here, but at the end of the day, we're not in the business of turning kids away from Ultimate. We're in the business of turning them on to it. So that's what we're going to do. We just got to make sure we do it in the right way.
It's probably also worth noting that we're not saying they can't practice with the team or go to unsanctioned tournaments with the team or, you know, be part of your local Ultimate community. Cathedral isn't competing in our spring league, so we're really only talking about our state tournament. Maybe 1 or 2 other sanctioned tournaments, in, you know, in the state that factor into our rankings. But certainly as a, you know, we're trying to create a balance.
And it only affects like the like time.
Sure.
Yes.
So this is a big one. This is an important one. And essentially all of them are going to be unique situations. So make sure that you go on to minnesotaultimate.org and go under the youth tab and there's all of these guidelines written out, and then right underneath it, in its own page, is the, what do we call this?
Guidelines and eligibility.
No, an exception form. Okay, so fill that out for the kid and get it sent in. And ask me questions along the way. Jason?
Hey, Jason.
Sorry, guys.
So a lot of teams have 7th and 8th graders playing with them.
Yeah.
I don't think everyone then knows. I mean, should
Correct.
We should be doing that to those.
Yes. So it's can I get a time check?
Time's up.
Okay. We can talk about this for a while. And after we talk about it for a
Wrap it
while, if you have more questions, we'll have to talk about it later. I know that this is a hot topic for this year. Okay, so here's what I was just describing, player eligibility. These two requirements here to be a player on your team are from USA Ultimate. So essentially it says that you need to be a high school player, and high school players here under 2 are in the 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. Okay?
And this is for just the, it's not for the league, for like, is this
It's
for
for
open?
any USA Ultimate sanctioned
So for
event.
girls teams too?
Yep, so this
Yeah.
would be for, our league, for regionals, and for states. Okay. So USA Ultimate says that 7th and 8th graders are not high schoolers. Okay, so therefore they should not be competing in high school championship level events. You can see that there's some exceptions there, right under number 3. An 8th grader that goes to a K through 12 school, or a 9th grader that doesn't attend. You know, the high school that I went to, the high school was 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. USA Ultimate considers the 9th graders at junior high school that feeds into that high school students. So that one's pretty clear. But your 7th and 8th graders that are currently playing with your program because you're a small program, you're connected to the community, younger brother and siblings, trying to teach them Ultimate. By the letter of the law, they are not eligible. Our exception policy for the state does not say anything about grade. And USA Ultimate has made it clear that states, if they try and pass an exception that says that all 7th and 8th graders can now play in our events, they'll be met with a lot of resistance. Okay.
And if I might interject here, as a USC board member who's doesn't want to get sued, we have an insurance company, and they work with other sports too, and they're relatively aware that there's a pretty significant size difference between a 7th grader and a 12th grader, and so this is a safety concern, and it's a liability concern. And I know we've been operating a certain way for a long time, but frankly, it's also becoming a growth concern, because just as when there are a bunch of students from various schools that get to all play at the central hub and there's not much motivation to grow, there's a bunch of 7th and 8th graders that get to go and play with their older brothers and sisters, and there's no motivation to start a junior high team in junior high practices. So we're getting to the point where, for a lot of reasons, we need to start pushing forward in that growth and separating them.
And we do have a middle school league, so it's not as if we're asking them to start from scratch. There is a middle school league that's being run and has been run successfully. So there are opportunities there. Now, there's always going to be the cathedral exception. I think that we're going to call it this point forward, and we can deal with that. But
Because I'm assuming none of these teams will run a drive at St. Cloud on a Thursday night. That's what we ran into when we were in the league. We would go to the games and the other team would show up.
Right.
So
for the kids that you're looking to get exceptions for, this is the Word document that USA Ultimate has filled out or created that you would fill out for them. You got to describe the circumstance get the parent, the coach, and the school official to sign off on it. You can send all of those to me. You can see here, there's my email address. The ones that are for playing at a school where you're not a student at, the Minnesota Ultimate exception covers that. We'll take a look at it and approve it or deny it. Any of the ones that are age-based, I'm going to forward directly to the right person at USA Ultimate and copy you on. I would not expect many of those to be approved. And we're going to get into it in a second here, but like Chris alluded to, we've got plenty of opportunity, or we're developing opportunities for those younger participants now. And of course, you can still educate them and train them and give them opportunities as part of your program. They just can't be competing against high schoolers as middle schoolers for their safety. Okay? So again, tricky one, lots of questions. They're all going to be unique. So it's probably about 7 o'clock now. Yep. Yeah. So we'll deal with all the unique ones after the meeting via email or at your parents' meetings.
So they can though play league play, they just can't play sanctioned?
Our league is sanctioned.
Oh, I
So
thought it was.
anything that we're offering.
Awesome.
And sanction, you know, if you want to draw the dotted line, sanction means it's covered by the insurance company that says 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders can play against each other. Now, our middle school events are also sanctioned. They're insured by the same company, but they're for that appropriate age group.
And are 11th graders allowed to play in the middle school league?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, we're not going to allow it, but I don't know if it's the letter of the law.
It's a hard no.
Yeah.
It's a hard no.
It's a Minnesota.
All right, we're going to move on. Coaching and chaperone requirements. So all programs need to have at least one coach, certified coach. So if you have multiple teams, one person can coach them all. But each of them needs to have a chaperone because they'll be playing at different sites at the same time very often. And the chaperone is essentially trained to, well, they've passed a background check so that we're confident that they, you know, can be in direct service with youth. And they've also been trained in some basic procedures. All right. Rosters, we like them to remain consistent. So if you've got an A and a B team in your program, and you've got those players on the bubble that are moving up and down between the team, do that as little as, or avoid doing that often, because we don't want your results to be skewed because players from your A team keep dropping down with the B team and destroying other teams, inflating your rating, and then we put them against a team without your A studs. They just get destroyed. Chris?
2 points of reference. One, that's actually, you want to lock your roster in once you register for the state tournament. So that's one thing you're going to be doing anyways. So you're definitely going to be consistent in the second half of the season. The other thing that's a policy reminder, not necessarily specific to our league, but USA Ultimate this year is requiring anybody running a USA Ultimate sanctioned tournament to be certified as an event organizer for USA Ultimate. So if you're running a tournament and you didn't realize this, now's a good time, because it certainly wouldn't be great to find out 3 days before the tournament you've been working really hard on. So we don't have anything up there because, you know, it doesn't pertain directly to what we're doing, but I think in the coming days we'll probably put a link up there so you can find it. But just be aware, if you're looking to run a tournament, you do need to have somebody that is an event organizer that is certified to do that. So,
Is that only for sanctioned tournaments?
yes.
Okay, so if you're running an unsanctioned tournament, you don't have to worry about
Yeah, you run 3.
If you're running an unsanctioned tournament, though, you better get event insurance for yourself.
Yep.
Okay. Sanctioning an event with USA Ultimate means you don't have to do that and you don't absorb the liability. Cindy?
So you have the one certified level coach. So we have 3 teams and we all coach separate teams. We have 3.
Just one.
No, that's one for each program,
Okay, great.
and then chaperones for each team.
Does the program cross through a girl and woman team at a single school program?
That's a good question. I'm getting a lot of nods from our board members, so I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
Think of it per school.
The intent of this was to
get us into the position where we had at least one certified level one coach for each school. And so, we didn't care how many actual teams we had or whether they were boys or girls, but we wanted one. And I can tell you, coming from as one of the coaches at a school that has like 5 or 6 of them, that it's really great to have more than one.
All right, and then the last thing, avoid forfeits. We're working really hard this year to get the schedules out to you, advance time. Girls teams are going to consistently be scheduled on Tuesday nights. Boys teams and open teams are going to consistently be scheduled on Thursday nights. Weather is going to come up. Things are going to happen. You may have to postpone the game, but there are other days of the week, and there is a bye week built into the end of the season. Make sure that we're getting those games played. The first week in April, there could be 2 feet of snow and nobody plays. We still want you to work with the coach or the team organizer for the other squad and get that game played. Not because, we really care about the results, but because your kids are going to benefit from that experience. So avoid forfeits. We don't feel very good
and
about
in that vein, Chris mentioned it before, but we'd still love you to play that makeup games on the bye week, but they won't count for state seeding because we'll be running wild card stuff, and that's how we end up seeding the state. So you want to schedule before that bye week if you want it to count, but if you don't get the chance, that bye week's a great opportunity to give your kids the experience. Other thing I note on forfeits is there's a huge difference between contacting the opposing coach 2 weeks in advance saying, hey, we have an important school event that night, we can't play, can you reschedule this, versus not contacting them and just not showing up. The former is great, the latter is awful, as anyone who's had that happen to them well knows. So please be proactive and communicate.
Okay, so you can read this. Essentially, we want you all to operate as good role models for the kids that you're coaching, the youth in your programs, and we want kids acting appropriately and respectful to themselves and one another. And frankly, as Ultimate gets a little bit bigger, we are the ambassadors and have to educate adults, parents, and other spectators that are coming to our games. And now that social media is so big, there's a lot of opportunity out there for inappropriateness. So make sure that you and the program that you represent and the youth and spectators and parents that are a part of that program are acting appropriately. We as the board and the employee really hope that this is all we have to say about it once each year. But if we're forced to have tough conversations about this, we're going to do that starting from here on out. Okay? Great.
Don't abuse the hashtags, guys.
Okay, so fees and registration. The fee structure has not changed. How you pay it is going to change a little bit. Previously, you would have to mail in a check and fill out a Google Doc and then do the USA rostering thing. You still have to do the USA rostering thing, but at least the fee and the Google Doc registering is all being combined into one on our new site. So when you tell us who your team admin is, which I'll get to in a second here, and we set them up with your team, then they will go in and they will register for the event, put in all the information we need, and at the end they will pay via PayPal, okay, with any major credit card or checking account. Pretty simple. All right, just a sec, let me make sure I got everything on my slide. Here's a reminder about the registration deadline again, February 26th. As Kenny alluded to, this is not the deadline to have everyone on your roster all paid up with USA Ultimate. This is the deadline to say, we are playing Spring League. Here's all of our information. Here's our home field. Here's our coach. Here's what the strength of our roster looks like going into the year. And here's the $200, because that's really all that we care about.
The money.
Yeah. Same thing for the high school state tournament. This is more. All right, we got to get fields for that and do a lot of organization. This is at the end of April, as Chris alluded to. You will see there is a late fee for each event, 3 days after the timely registration deadline. It's an extra $100. So just get on your horse and get it in on time. We put that there because honestly, for the folks that don't know, I might webcam sometime what the competition committee does on a Thursday night when they get all of your results, because it's pretty bonkers how late these people stay up and the amount of time they come in, they put into it. And when we're waiting on that one result, or when someone registers after we've started building the season, it gets really, really difficult, okay? And that's not like employee time that's already paid for. That's volunteers taking time away from their family and coaching their own team and that sort of stuff. So, and they're your community members, so be supportive of them, get your registration in on time. Did you have a question still, Jesse?
Yeah, and the survey that we filled out, the email that you sent out to us, that's going to be used to set up our team.
Yep.
Correct.
It's coming up in a
You're
second.
talking about the web admin?
Yep, it's coming up in just a sec. Okay. Oh, hey, maybe your team can't afford it. We've got a scholarship thing on our website. Check it out. Also, USA Ultimate has a couple scholarship opportunities. New girls teams. You can almost get your whole year paid for between Minnesota Ultimate and USA Ultimate. Maybe you've got girls playing on your open team. Let's start a girls team and get them a bunch of money to make it happen. So we can do that with USA Ultimate. I'm the guy to talk to. Check out our scholarship page under youth on our website. There's also a Play It Forward. Okay, this is a USA Ultimate scholarship. This is for maybe your team doesn't need a scholarship. Maybe you're in a community that's doing just fine, and $800 isn't all that much for a year's worth of Ultimate. But there is one individual that looks at the USA Ultimate membership, which I think is $34 a youth now, and says, like, that's a lot, we can't do it. That's what Play It Forward is. Those are specific individual scholarships towards their membership fees with USA Ultimate. And all that information will be on our website there as well.
And that's something we can forward the kid who's asking us for a
Yes,
scholarship.
exactly.
Say,
Yep.
go look at this website, there's Play It Forward, look at that and sign
Yep.
up there.
Yep.
How quick is the turnaround, you know? When you get
That should be fairly quick. Yeah, I mean,
Generally,
a week,
2 to 3 days turnaround. They'll respond fairly quickly.
Yeah. Did you have something to add,
I
Chris?
just had a question. Okay, come on. For new women's teams, is that just for new schools with women's teams, or are we also looking at JV squads, additional women's teams at the same school?
This is new girls program.
Got it.
Funded.
I have two things. One, a comment to the play part, just as a heads up, it does have to be someone with demonstrated need. They will need a letter from the school. So I went through that last year, and it was a little bit more than I was expecting, but it's still very straightforward. They really don't need to walk through the process, but just as a heads up. Second question for you, Jade. For those league fees and tournament fees and things, is there a way we could get a more streamlined process for getting an invoice, or should I just email you directly to say I
Let me do that.
invoice?
So for the people at home, the question was, can we get invoices? Yeah, you can. And I should be able to do it through PayPal pretty easily if it's not a capability of Ultimate Central.
It is.
So,
Website gives you receipts.
sweet. All right, see why we changed? Okay. All right, so that's scholarships. Got a couple more slides to move through. Okay, so the team registration. Again, there's no more checks to be mailed in. Payment is done right online on the website. There's no more Google survey. There's no more, did you fill this out or not? You have to fill it out to register your team online. It's all in one. USA Ultimate, nothing has changed. And when we get to that slide, you'll see it. It's a doozy. Don't worry, all the instructions will be on the website. But we sent out a survey to all returning teams a little while back saying, we want who's going to be your team admin. Instead of blasting you with a bunch of instructions on how registration works, we want to know who's the person that's going to pinpoint this transition to our new registration for your team. Just give us their name and their email, maybe their phone number in case they can't type their email correctly. Okay? We've got 30 teams that have done that so far. Okay? We need that from you to give you the rest of the registration instructions. If you're the new person in charge of your program, maybe it's going to someone that moved to Kentucky, let me know. We'll get it off to you so you can do that. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to make the team for you in Ultimate Central. Put that admin as a team admin, and then send them instructions for how to register for the event. Okay? So, I'm glad Jesse saw it. Hopefully you've all seen it, you've done it. If not, give me the name and the email address, and we'll make it happen. And then we'll send out the rest of the instructions.
Is changing the email address on the account for Ultimate Central?
Yes.
Yeah, you can add a different admin later, if that's what you're asking.
Or for you specifically, you can go in, hit edit details, and just swap out your.
Can you have 2 admins for one
Yes.
person X?
You can have.
You can assign folks and then assign a role.
Yeah. Sam?
If we have a game meeting, do we have 2 pages?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
The equivalent from the old site is on the old site you would have your team and then you would have a drop down of where you're at. It's the same thing. Each team will have its own separate page.
Okay. Okay, player registration, it's going to be really slick, really easy. It's kind of like the USA Ultimate rostering, if you've done that before. But we'll send instructions out to those team admins who have all filled out the survey, the 3-question survey, and then they will add players. If you have an athlete that's already in Ultimate Central, they've gone to one of these tournaments already, you just start typing in their name, their profile pops up, and you say, yeah, we're taking this kid on our team. Otherwise, you just type in their name and email, and it sends them instructions to get an account and get on the team. And then whenever the team registers for a new event, you will have the option of carrying everyone over. So for example, Patty with Cretin-Derham Hall, we were working on it this weekend. She was doing a test run for me. Most of her athletes went to a tournament that was already Ultimate Central. So when she said CDH is entering events, she had a list of 17 names who were already on that team from a previous year. And she just said, yeah, I mean, she had 33 kids. Their program is booming.
There were 72 kids on
Yeah,
that.
all females, right? All 9th, 10th, and 11th grade females. And then she just one click, add them to the roster, and now they're in for spring league. So it's going to be really simple, and it puts a little bit of the onus on the student participant. Luckily, they can do it from their smartphone really easy. Okay, not as easy. Stips to rostering with USA Ultimate. I'm not going to read all these, but know that this presentation and all of these instructions will be on the website. There's a lot here. Chris said that our process is more intuitive and easier, and it will be. But actually, if you've done this before, or if you just take your time when you get into it, it's not nearly the mess that these instructions make it seem. Jesse?
I have a recommendation. The first thing to be with your parents. Go to so that they can have their parents sign off and check everything. Because otherwise, they're not going to have any information that they need to.
Right.
Say that again, please. I missed.
So what Jesse was advocating for is that the player doesn't just try and do it at the bus stop on their smartphone. That there's going to be a lot of information that they need, and that information is probably going to have to come from their parents. Okay.
One other thing to note in that giant wall of text is that last bullet. Chaperones, you want to get your background checks in by March 28th. That is probably the last line before you're going to start to run into conflicts with games starting and you not necessarily being cleared. So just make sure that you take that right away. You just get it out of the way and be done with it.
does that expire? Like if you are a
Every
certified chaperone?
2 years,
2
yes.
years.
And not to belabor that, but just to belabor it for a while longer, that's a huge issue for us as we get into the state tournament. If a coach or a chaperone has a conflict, a week or two before something comes up, they can't make it to the tournament, we can't let a team play without somebody that's passed that background check on their sideline. And we can try and find somebody else for you. We can try and shift things around, but it can be difficult. So it's really a good idea to not just have your coach and one person per team pass that, but maybe get a couple parents per team to do it if they're interested. And then you've got a little bit more flexibility as things come up.
And continuing to belabor, if you're a teacher or you already have a background check on record for any reason, you unfortunately cannot transfer it over. So you will need to do it again.
Okay. Oh, man. All right. So, thank gosh that's over. But see me after or email me with your questions.
Yay. All right, I'm Missy. I'm a French teacher. I coach Armstrong girls. Also, I'm the secretary, so I'm really good at organizing stuff, all right? And one thing that we've organized with you, thanks to Jake Henderson and, of course, Jake's efforts as well, we will be having the second annual Coaches Conference. The conference is very different than the Level 1 certification because you're really diving into a lot of the more complex components of coaching, such as organizational infrastructure, how you're going to communicate with families, how are you going to get those forms and papers back? And then also, how am I going to teach these kids handling skills, right? Maybe you yourself aren't entirely sure. So we're going to have a variety of different sessions. It's very fast-paced. It moves throughout the day. It's from 9 to 3, I believe. And tonight, if you register before 6 p.m. tomorrow, you get $10 off tonight only, which means you are paying the great price of $15 instead of $25. Okay, we'll have a keynote by Jake Henderson, Dragon Thrust, 3-time national champion, 1-time world champ coach, also Team USA mixed. So that's really exciting. Last year we had PCA. We decided to just keep it local since we have so many great members in our community to bring those resources to you. So please be sure to register. We've talked a lot about the website tonight. Again, register before tomorrow at 6 p.m. and you will only pay $15 instead of $25.
Is there food?
Yep, food. Food. It's at Robbinsdale Middle School. It's great. Be there all day with you. All these organizational things that how am I going to do all this? I have an amazing handout. Raise your hand if you used the handout last year. I know there's several of you. And it saves you hours worth of time. All the dates are in there. That list, that schedule where we got to change the Wednesdays, I'll get that fixed for you. It's all in there. The whole infrastructure is there for you. So you come to this conference, you get access to all these resources. You can move forward a lot faster with your team and get down to playing rather than thinking about how you're going to facilitate the playing.
So if you spent 6 hours at this conference learning and eating food
and talking to other coaches,
what do you think what's the return in hours saved?
Oh my gosh, I've probably spent 150 hours perfecting all these documents and things. And I know that a lot of the experience, Austin is going to be teaching a handler clinic. How many years have you been playing, Austin? You've been playing at least 10 years in very high stress situations and with a variety of different folks from all over. So it's just hours of expertise that you'll be able to get in 6 hours for $15. So it can't beat that.
These are documents that every team.
Stop talking, I'm trying to go fast.
Oh, okay.
All right, next one.
Wow.
Level one. We have a March 12th coaching certification, so that'll be March 12th. This one's a little longer, and this year it will be funded entirely by Minnesota Ultimate with the exception of your USAU membership and the background check. So we're paying as much as we can for you this year up front, so you don't have to go through that painful, slow, arduous reimbursement process. You can register on our website, and Jake has everything explained there for you so that you can see how you're going to save the money up front right away. We really just want to make it as easy as possible for you as a volunteer coach to move forward and get your team started. That will again be at Robbinsdale Middle School. John Sandall, many of you know, will be our instructor. It's an all-day event, classroom time, ethics, a lot of the legal stuff, and then we move into how do you actually teach kids how to play Ultimate. As I said, register, and I think that's everything, and I'll pass.
Is there food? That was quick.
Yep, there's food. Yeah, well, you guys have been sitting for 90 minutes, so.
If you're, if you were certified and are no longer due to expiration, do
You
you
can
go through
re-
the whole thing, or do you?
No, you don't have to go to the thing. You don't have to go to it again. You
There's
can
an
renew-
online research.
Yeah, you just take a quiz and you can recertify and renew your background check. It'll cost you some funds. So the coaching conference sounds like the right choice for you, sir.
What date is the conference?
February 20th.
So that's next Saturday. So,
Great.
and it's a little bit of a short turnaround, we know, but we wanted to launch this website and get you all here. So please make it if you can.
Before I launch into this too far, let's just acknowledge that there's an error. Well, it's technically accurate. Registration for states is April 29th, with I think May 1st or 2nd was the late deadline. So it's actually late April is what that should have read. But other than that, it's mostly accurate. We've already talked a bit about what's going on with the state tournament this year. I just want to dive into a few more details. As some of you no doubt recall a couple years ago, actually, you know what? We've been going for a while. And why doesn't everyone just stand up 1 minute, stretch a little bit, introduce yourself to someone next to you.
Maybe. Have you been a Badger? Not yet. So you visited like 25 years. Yeah. So I know there's a couple of things.
All right, folks, we only have a minute. I'm sorry. Let's continue. The library actually closes at 7:30. Oh, all right.
Jake just wanted the attentive audience.
I really did. I really did. All right, I'm sorry about that. To continue, state tournament, couple of important points. A couple of years ago, you might recall we had a really bad rain out, and we didn't get to finish the tournament that same weekend. We actually had to finish it then on the next weekend. Some might say that that was an act of God that caused some scheduling difficulties. This year, we have a different sort of act of God to deal with. That being that there is a large Christian rock concert going on at the National Sports Center on the same weekend as our tournament. Unfortunately, what that means is that we cannot be on the site afternoon on Saturday. There will be so many cars for this Christian rock concert that they have no parking spaces in the whole complex available for anything else. And in fact, we can't even be on the south side of the complex on Saturday morning. We can only be on the north side. So what we're going to be doing is something similar to what the Twin Cities Ultimate League does on Thursday nights. We're going to be splitting each soccer field in half and having 2 ultimate fields on each soccer field. So that way we will have 44 fields at the complex on the north side Saturday morning for 2 games, 2 rounds. Then on Sunday, we'll be able to spread out across the whole complex for whatever reason. The Christian rock thing doesn't actually happen on Sunday. So we'll be able to do normal full fields, plenty of space on the sidelines, and we're going to be doing 2 games Saturday, 4 games Sunday for almost every team, except if you make finals in Division I. We've already talked about how that's going to be on Tuesday. Field width Saturday morning might be slightly narrower than 40, but it'll be pretty close. Tukul, I think, gets about 37, 38 on most of their fields. But we're not going to do a shared sideline. We're going to put a couple yards between, so it might be more like 35, 36. We know that's not ideal, but we were faced with a number of poor options, and this seemed like the least poor of them. I personally would rather play on 36 and probably wouldn't even notice versus playing in the potholes of in Forest Manure or Maple Plain, or being in some other location that isn't where most of the teams are playing. Please bear with us on that. There'll be more announcements as we get a little closer to the tournament about how we'll accommodate all of that. One big advantage of doing the state tournament finals on Tuesday, in addition to everything that Chris already discussed, all state voting can now happen through Monday. So you'll actually get a chance to see 7 of the 8 games of the weekend for every team, and 8 of 8 from almost every team before you have to cast your votes as to who the the All-State, most deserving athletes are for the All-State honors. Format, just to be clear, will be the same as we've done for many years, 3 games of pool play, and then quarters, semis, finals. But it's just that the last game of pool play will be Sunday morning, and the games will be to 13 instead of 15 because we're going to do 4 games on Sunday, and that's just a little safer.
Are we allowed to go to that Christian rock concert with our team afterwards?
Let's discuss after.
Awesome. Good job.
I know. For state policy stuff, this is for schools that aren't playing in the league. You do have to get in 3 sanctioned games to be eligible for states, so go to Hopkins Hustle or another sanctioned tournament. If you don't show up to the state tournament, there will be sanctions for that in one form or another. We're probably not going to be refunding your fee, for example. We do a lot of work to set up the formats and get everything organized, and teams are going to show up Saturday morning expecting to play 2 games, and if an opponent doesn't show up, it's pretty rude. So please be communicating with us far in advance and making sure you've got your team organized. As has been the norm for the last couple of years, tiers of 16. Last year we actually tier 16 for girls as well, and then a smaller Division II. And that's what we'll be doing again this year. We have 44 fields, which is actually more than we had last year. So we'll be up to 88 teams are able to play this year. And last year we had 78 teams. So actually we should be able to accommodate everyone unless we really explode more than we do even normally from year to year. If we do have to send a team, deny a team entrance for some reason, then it'll be based on the rankings at the end of the season prior to wildcard week. That'll filter that out. And then we've already talked a bit about roster consistency. We do allow teams to play with their A and B setups from league to state if they, for some reason, feel they need to do that. But otherwise, rosters need to be consistent with at least what you register for states, which is in like week 5 of the league or so.
I'll get it.
Thanks.
All right, other tournaments. They're all on our calendar on our website. Go to them. They're great. If you're hosting a tournament and you want to post it on the website, let us know. If you're doing a clinic or anything else that you want to let folks know about, let us know and we'll get it up there. Cody, raise your hand real quick. Cody's from White Bear. White Bear Lake, sorry. You care about the lake. Okay. He's gauging general interest in an early season tournament. He's got some information that I'm going to send out in an email, but if you're looking for more playing opportunities, early April, is that what you said? Late April. Talk to Cody, and he can get you some more information or take your information. There are other programs. It wasn't too long ago that we were just the high school league. Then we moved to Minnesota Youth Ultimate. Now we're Minnesota Ultimate. There are plenty of other opportunities for kids within the state. So make sure that you as the ambassador for your program are making them aware of all of these things as registration opens, information gets sent out, all that stuff. Bruce, I'm just going to keep rolling here. Our website, we've got policies, the league information, how to register, and the events are there. This presentation, we recorded it. It's going to be posted on there. You can also just get the PowerPoint, so you can look back and remember all of Chris Miller's witty jokes. And if you want to get involved or further involved, we have lots of opportunities for you. We need conference coordinators. We need folks to help with the middle school league. Maybe you're turning over the team to someone else, younger, better looking, whatever, but you still want to stay involved. So we've got more limited roles that we can set you up with. Let us know. The one thing we should say, YCC, it's our youth club championship, kind of traveling, going for a national championship type team. The application for coaches is up online now. So if you're interested in doing that, apply, because we're going to select the coach a lot earlier than we have done in the past, so we can get organized and make sure that program is really great for the kids that want to participate in it. Oh, and we have board meetings. They're open to the public. They'll be on the calendar if you ever want to come, swing on by. Contact information. If you haven't gotten it yet, there it is, and it's all over the website. Questions? We don't have time for those, so.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming. If you could help stack a chair.